There, can you hear me at home? Give me a thumbs up if you can. Looks like you can. Yes, you can. Great. Okay, guys. Sorry about the delay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Back to School Vibes in September. In a good way, I hope. I'm guessing everyone's okay. And you can all hear me okay. Just reconfirm that with another thumbs up. Yay. Okay. We'll start by standing, if that's okay, in the middle of your mat. In Tadasana, feet together or, if apart, level. Breathing through your nose if you can. So do check your feet. Make sure you don't have one forwards, one back, one out, one in, or both out. They're level, meaning that if they're apart, there's a midline that runs get down through the gap between the second and third toe and out the middle of the heels. Or they're touching. That's fine as well. Light tone in the tummy. Buoyant chest, like floating, almost like from about the bottom of the breastbone up, the chest has this positive buoyancy. You can imagine that upper torso just floating. And at the same time, the waist, the muscles of the waist are not tense. They're soft and related to breath flow, of course. And the shoulders are down. So once we've got those things in place, then we can add some more detail. So let's recap and cover a couple of more things. Breath first. Second, we check our feet. Make sure they're level. Make sure one isn't turned out, one isn't turned in. Or they're together. We can feel the back of the thighs moving in towards the front of the thighs and the front of the thighs moving gently towards the skies in relationship to the back of the thighs, drawing gently in. The lower back muscles are soft and the chest is floating, like buoyant. Can you imagine from this part of your chest up, it's buoyant, like it's literally positively buoyant. Positive buoyancy is where a body displaces more weight of water than it itself weighs, and therefore it rises. So it's inevitable rising up. Shoulders are down. Worth reiterating, isn't it? Always reiterate from feet up through movement. We're reiterating flow, vahita, which should also take place in the breath. There is no vahita anywhere if it's not in the breath. Finally, well, there's more, but let's leave this as final. Finally, let the chest muscles, the pectoralis, release and notice the psychophysical correlation. Notice how whatever you've picked up today gets released or needs to be released if the chest muscles are to release. And that release has to happen at the level of the breath. And how that whole process relies on confidence in the ultimate strength, the ultimate power of letting go. Confidence, shraddha, and the ultimate strength, the ultimate power of letting go. Okay, we'll run through the pose one more time from the ground up. So we know the feet are level. Okay, you can feel that. And there's movement on the feet because we're not looking for a limited gripped, grasped point. We're looking for engagement. The back of the thighs are in towards the front of the thighs. And there's a drawing down from the calf muscles to the heels. There's a rising up through the shins. There's a rising up through the thighs that's complementary to the depth from the back and doesn't disrupt free flow breathing. The tummy has light, reiterative tone. It happens again and again, reiterative tone. Now let's take into Urdhva Hasta. That means hands up, as some of you know, and now all of you know. Urdhva meaning up, Hasta meaning hands. There's light tone in the tummy. The roots of the neck are soft. There's flow that's looking for integration. Now, I think it's valid to link the words together as synonyms, the word yoga and the word strength and the word integration. So strength translates to integration. When many things do the same thing as each other. That's strength. Strength in numbers, in a sense. And integration is another word for yoga. So we want strength, meaning integration, by recruiting as many muscle fibers as we can over time. You can move left, you can move right, you can draw in. You want to find those muscle fibers. You want to lift those muscle fibers, for example, of the lower back from the crest of the pelvis to the beginning of the ribs, quadratus lumborum. Then from here, we're going to bend ankles, knees, and hips, and we're going to lunge forwards or tilt forwards from the hip joints, the top of the thighs, and breathe and play. Play is a very important part of yoga, isn't it? And then we're going to reach right the way down to the lowest squat we're comfortable to come to with the heels still down. So if the heels come up, don't come down that low, that the heels come up. Breathing easy, breathing calm. Calmly, integratively, work your way up, including every fiber. As you come all the way up and take a big wide circle, hands to hips, expressive breath. So you really like letting go, expressive breath, spontaneous and expressive. Then when you're ready, raise up one leg. Doesn't matter which, you only got two to choose from, so it shouldn't take too long, and hold it, hold that leg. Pull it by the shin if you can. Of course, you can, if necessary, if absolutely required, take support. Pull the leg up and out and counter with the opposite arm. Keep breathing naturally without holding the breath. So this is a preparatory, we could say, for Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Now, although it might seem like it's about the top leg, major part of it is about the bottom leg. Space, lift. Space in the inner groin, top of the inner thigh. Depth from the gluteal crease where your bum and thigh meet, and lift from the front thigh. Okay, back to center, leg down, deep breaths, plural. Shake it off. So deep breaths, shake it off. When you're feeling loose, and your breath will indicate that looseness, up comes the other leg similarly. So as soon as you're ready, or whenever you're ready, bring the other leg up and take hold if you're ready to. Jaw soft, hand can be on the hip or stretched out already in anticipation. But your breath matters most. That it's expressive, that it's honest, this is indicative of release. Pull the top leg up and out. Keep breathing through the nose, keep your head in line with the spine. Jaw soft, eyes soft. So again, we've got this Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, and we're breathing expressively and honestly. This word satya, which comes from the root sat, which means the way it is. So from that we get satya, honesty. Okay. Standing leg, strength. Remember, we're equating three things together today. The word strength with the word integration, with the word yoga. We're treating those as synonyms. Back to the front, leg comes down, shake it off. Shake it off like a Polaroid picture. We're going to come into a version of Uttanasana. Now, it might be advantageous to have blocks for your hands, and it's certainly easier to have equipment and then get rid of it if you don't need it than it is to suddenly get it. So if you've got blocks, put them in front of you unless you know you've got a wide range of motion in the hamstrings and that you reach the floor easily. And so most of us, blocks are a good idea. We're going to fold, we're going to put our hands on our block or blocks so that our anterior spine is open. In other words, the part of the spine that faces the floor. Now that's open psychophysically. In other words, there's not just a sense of space, but there's a visualization that might go with it. And there's even a sense of mental spaciousness. And there's something in the breath that also feels like pressure is gone, pressure's taken off. Spacious. Breathe into it, jaw soft, fold deeply. So using blocks, what we're not doing is folding deeply over the navel, but folding deeply over the top of the thighs. So it's fine to bend the knees, absolutely fine. And in fact, we could say it's absolutely preferential to having a really stiff
dull, aching, or painful back, which none of those should be experienced in any prolonged way. One could hold the elbows if you had a wide range of motion or kept the knees bent. But many of us will find, I think, we've got a lot more scope staying up on our blocks, playing with movements of the pelvis, scope that is to release the breath. So this is Uttanasana. Ut plus tan plus asana. Ut means intense. Tan means stretch or expansion. And asana has come to mean in some texts from the 11th century posture. Okay, whichever you came into, we're going to bend the knees and we're going to hang now. So lose the blocks if you were using them, just put them to one side. Bend your knees until your ribs can actually physically touch your thighs, and then hang. Hang from the spinal column, or hang the muscles along the spinal column and the rib cage. Breathe through your nose if you can. Deep, expressive, natural, organic breaths. We're going to bend a bit more until we can bring our hands onto the thighs and straighten and lock the elbows. So once the elbows are straightened and locked, that allows the blood pressure to regulate, to settle. We might take a few deep breaths, we might move the pelvis, and then when ready, we're going to come up slowly all the way back up to standing. Shake off, keep that energy down in the floor, down in your feet. Make sure you don't feel tense, make sure you feel loose. If you're ready, stretch your arms really wide, like I'm doing here, like you're in an inspiring advert for vitamin supplements or something, or a latest brand of oat milk. So really tone your tummy, draw it in, and as your ribs go up, that lengthens the lower back muscles. Why? Because it pulls on the pelvis at the front. So arms sort of up but out in this sort of inspired position, almost a sort of religious parody, or this kind of receiving from the heavens kind of vibe. Now, when you're ready, we're going to take the arms a little lower and then wrap one round the other. And we're going to do that more than once. Apologies if this makes the microphone muted. I've got a brand new microphone. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm sure you'll let me know. But it sometimes gets muted when you come into this pose, so apologies. We're going to wrap the arms around each other. And we're breathing through the nose if we can. The jaw is absolutely passive. Now there's the option with the feet apart to bend the knees and lean forwards. That's a really good option. You can really play with your back, really play with the stretch. There's another option which is similar, but in some ways a little bit more challenging, where you start with your feet much closer. You bend your ankles, knees, and hips. You take the opposite leg to the top arm to be your top leg, and you wrap it round, and you work your toes perhaps around the back of the calf, but we absolutely shouldn't force that in any way. That would be reckless and unnecessary. And if you did that version, you could also lean forwards, just as we might be doing with both feet on the floor. It's up to you. But don't hold the breath. That bit is universally applicable. So this is the Garudasana. And whichever version you chose, come out with as much awareness as you were coming in. Release the arms. Maybe the microphone's clearer now. Shake off, breathe, breathe, and shake off. Whichever arm you had on top before, stretch your arms out, tone your tummy, and reverse. Again, apologies for any muting of the microphone that happens. Multiple movements gather together. That's why we say strength is integration. So strength can mean unification. It means something isn't pulling in opposition eventually. So in yoga, this is also called samadhi. Like everything equally supported, and it's one of many names that indicates meditative absorption. Again, we can have the feet apart and bend ankles, knees, and hips, folding the back muscles very, very usefully. Or feet are closer together and you take opposite leg to the top arm, wrap that round with slow, calm
fully relaxed and aware movements. And then you can fold forwards if you want. So these are all various options. Of course, what's not an option is that we breathe into it. It's a fundamental part of successful yoga is integration. Back to that triple synonym: yoga, integration, and strength. Coming up calmly without haste. Nice and easy. Then release. Stretch out, shake out, do anything that works for you. Now, you might need a pata, that is to say, a belt. And here's a rather nice turquoise one that I've already got in the room. You might not, but it's useful to have one anyway, because we're going to be clasping one hand to the other. And many of us will find it advantageous to bridge the gap between the hands with a belt. And if not on one side, we might find we need it on the other. I'm going to start with the feet apart, about hip width. We're not going to hold the breath. We're going to let that flow expressively, organically, naturally. We're going to keep the head in line with the spine, energetically speaking. Honest, natural, flowing breath. Jaw absolutely passive, temples receding inwardly. Organic, natural, flowing breath. Jaw soft, eyes soft. So let's think about, or let's feel, the central channel, as it's sometimes called, which is a channel that we project, we imagine, we even create, extending along the front of the spinal column, which different texts tell us to visualize it as different sizes, meaning that it doesn't have ultimate existence. It's understood that it's created by the mind, but it's also understood that everything's created by the mind. Particle physicists understand this, and so does Yogacara philosophy from the Buddhist tradition. Everything's created by the mind. So in the Yogacara philosophy, the only thing that has any ultimacy is the mind itself. Everything else is like a dream. So really interesting philosophy. I think has some efficacy, doesn't it? Let's take 3 deep breaths at least. Letting go. Whatever the mind is taken hold of, whatever's stuck, just letting go. Okay, nice and easy, nice and calm. Shake it off. Doesn't matter what it is, shake it off. You're always better off empty for every reason, for those that you love, so that you can move with them, so you can see them as they are, and for many other reasons too. Let's do the same on the other side. So other arm up the back, and bridge the gap with your, they're called a pata in Sanskrit. Pata means belt. Or, maybe your arms are long and you're holding directly, it doesn't matter. Let's just notice, shall we, the relationship between breath, body in form of muscles, and the mind. So if your mind has taken hold of anything, if your senses have picked up anything through the mind, or to the mind, so the senses report to the mind, and then the mind has its own objects as well, so sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of sight, obviously. And the mind has memories, and the mind has opinions, and the mind has social constructs. So they're like the sense objects. Like smell is a sense object for the nose, taste is a sense object for the tongue, touch is a sense object for the mind. And the mind has its own, touch is a sense object for the skin, and the mind has its own sense objects. Okay, nice and easy release when you're ready. Shake off, loosen off. And clear your mat of any debris, any detritus, except you might want blocks. So I didn't demonstrate the blocks, but I can do and I will do. So I'm lucky enough, we're lucky enough to have lots of yoga equipment here. So I've got 2 blocks of the same size, but you could use 1 block. That would be okay. It would be fine. Even if you don't have blocks, you can use other things that you can put your hands onto. They're going to go one side of your mat. I've got mine on their tallest setting. You can have them on any of the 3 settings. 1 foot through. Now, if you've got the screen like I have, and you might not, but if you, just in case you do, then have the foot that's closest to the screen forwards first. That's what I've got, and that's what you should have too, if you've got this set up. Otherwise, don't worry, it won't matter too much at all. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, about hip width, up to hip width, and no narrower than heel to heel. That will be your absolute minimum across the width of the mat would be heel to heel, and your absolute maximum would be hip width. Hands on hips, breathe through the nose, lightly tone the tummy, lift up the chest until you feel, those of you who are sensitive, meaning everybody who is currently relaxed enough to feel the way things are, if you're sensitive enough, you'll feel the pelvic floor buoyancy. Inhale, lift up your chest. Exhale, hinge, and bring your hands down to your blocks. This is a version of Pajvottanasana. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw relax, eyes relax, brain relax, tongue relax. Pajvottanasana. The gluteus maximus, which is the largest of the buttock muscles, has fibers that also externally rotate the leg as well as support the posture, as well as assisting in walking. They also externally rotate the leg, some of the fibers. Now, we don't want the leg to externally rotate. So if we just tell the back leg to soften, to turn in, to release the gluteus maximus, that is what we want to focus on. And then that should bring the side ribs round and breath deep. The front leg is strong in an upwards direction. It's not so much hitting back as drawing up. In fact, sometimes we even use a block, like I've just placed one here. Obviously, it's not super clear picture, perhaps, but underneath the calf to stop the leg collapsing back if you have an overbending knee. I find it quite useful. Each pose opens a door to the infinite, which you can feel for yourself as you adjust and readjust and refine and refine further. Absolutely wonderful pose. I could stay for ages because it's so much to take one's interest, but we're going to come up by leading with the chest, and we're going to take 1 foot back, 1 foot forwards, similarly. So remember, if you've got the same setup as me, which you might not have, just wedging this door because it's banging. Same setup as me, then you have now you'll have the foot furthest away from the screen. That's for what's coming in a minute. It doesn't matter for what we're doing now, but it's just a bit of forethought. Again, up to hip width, not wider. Tone in the tummy until you feel support. It's called adhara in Sanskrit. Adhara means support. And it's sometimes known as mula adhara or just muladhara, root support. So tummy toned, because then when your ribs lift, it pulls on the front of the pelvis. And then the front of the pelvis goes up, the back of the pelvis goes down, and those muscles between the lower ribs and the pelvis get stretched and released. Inhale, lift from your inner groin of the back leg up. Exhale, hinge from the hip joints, talking top of the outer thighs. Breathe through your nose. Imagine and feel your back leg sort of escaping. It's kind of how it feels like. It's escaping, naturally releasing backwards. Definitely don't hold the breath. Breathe through your nose if you can. Relax the jaw, the eyes, the tongue, the brain. Keep the front leg firm. Remember, firm, strong, integrated yoga. Synonyms. Synonyms. I could add gathered as another synonym. I could add together as another synonym. So in the front leg, we're looking for gathering, togetherness, unity, integration, all over this up action in the front of the leg. Can you feel? Again and again. Up action in the front of the leg. Remember, before, the gluteus maximus of the back leg has fibers that would externally rotate the back leg if switched on. So we make sure that the back leg is not externally rotated by releasing those muscles, which is connected with releasing the breath, of course. Okay, excellent. Knees with the bottom of the breastbone, come up and swap feet. So this is now where the block placement is relevant, where we had a little forethought. Hands on hips, everything's the same distance. No narrower than heel to heel, no wider than hip width. For these, this is what we're talking about when we talk about poses where you face straight on, right? When you're facing the other way, like if I was facing the screen in one of the lateral poses, like the triangle pose, that's a different foot alignment. Inhale from the inner groin up. Exhale, come down to your brick blocks, the same. You might have limbered up a bit and feel like you want to take one lower, but please don't get confused and think lower is better. It's only better if appropriate, and it's only appropriate if you're still able to keep the front spine open. Now, whether your bricks are low, high, middle height, doesn't matter. We're going to turn. So the opposite hand to the front leg remains on either one of the blocks. It can be on the big toe side, like this, and you turn, or the little toe side, like this, and you turn. And this takes us into the Parivrita triangle, the Parivrita Trikonasana. And this is where it takes us back to what's going on in the gluteus maximus of the back leg, which we don't want to be externally rotating. One method that I use to avoid external rotation is to bend the back knee intermittently, just to release that sort of gripping habit. Because integration and strength in yoga are the same thing, each pose can be integrated, further integrated, further integrated. Is Parivrita, or completely turned. Vrit is the root of Vrita, is the root of Riti as well, and many other words that mean to turn around or to move or to oscillate. Okay, back to your two blocks. Breathe through your nose if you can. Keep your chest open. Release the back leg. Inhale calmly to come up. And this is where you swap blocks. But this is where I, as a yoga teacher, do something different. I turn to the other end of my mat. You could as well if you wanted. But the reason why is that I can still then see you on the screen. And I'm just mentioning it in case anyone else, as a yoga teacher, and these are little things that it can be useful. So squaring up, same alignment, heel to heel or up to hip width. Light tone in the tum. Breathing through the nose if possible. Reiterative tone in the tummy. So that means in and up. And then again, retoning in and up. And then again, retoning. When we're talking about actions in yoga, we're really talking about sending repeated currents through the body. Breathing, natural, honest, expressive. Inhale, stretch from the inner groin to the chest. Exhale, extend from the inner groin to the chest. Feel the back leg release behind you. Feel the front leg increasingly integrated. Any height you want for the bricks. But don't hold the breath. Make sure that's expressive, spontaneous, natural, free. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Back of the thigh, in towards the front of the thigh, and the front of the thigh climbs up on that support. Back of the thigh, gently,
in towards the front of the thigh, and the front of the thigh kind of tumbles up. I've compared the way the movement feels to the movement of lava. You know, it kind of moves and folds and moves and folds and sort of gathering and moving and folding. Similarly, up the leg, like sort of lava that moves, folds over itself, and then another wave moves and folds over itself and keeps going all the way up in a meditative movement that's indicative of flow because the breath is flowing. A meditative movement that's indicative of flow because the breath is flowing. Again, to come into the Parivrita, one hand on the big toe or little toe side of the foot, any height with your blocks that suits the pose, leg length and arm length and so on. Don't hold the breath. Breathe through your nose. Extend the bottom ribs. Keep the jaw passive. Front leg firm, toned, integrated, gathered, fiber by fiber. Keep coming back to finding any muscle fiber that's not currently on board. Search for it, integrate it. Pulling the lower tummy forwards through to the chest. Pulling the lower tummy, I'm talking about the pubis, just it's underneath what's called the mons pubis, the pubic mound, which is, or even pubic mountain, which sounds like a terrible place for a holiday, but anyway, it means that fatty tissue that covers the pubic bone. Reach underneath that and pull up to the chest. Okay, coming back to the bricks. Any height, maybe going to the full height if you're not already. Chest forwards, leave the bricks, come up on the inhalation. Step the back foot forwards. You can move the bricks as you come into Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's the downward facing dog position. Really wonderful pose for iteration and reiteration. That is iteration and reiteration of the palms, full, total contact with the floor, which can't just be switched on like a light switch, but has to be tuned in like a radio dial. So it takes time, it takes swaying, it takes movement. So stay with your palms. Obviously, anything else that needs to happen, like movement of your heels or ankles or knees. But don't forget your palms. As you sway left, as you sway right, feel the inner palm, feel the outer palm, feel the front of the palm. So it's a bit like turning on lights in a city. You know, each suburb of the city turns on its set of lights, and then they stay on as you range around and feel into another suburb, another part of the city where you turn on more lights, and so on until every single part of the palm over perhaps a long period of time is lit up. I find it wonderful to reiterate energy through the back, but don't forget those palms, because that's where all the energy comes from. All the energy comes from the palms. Okay, well done. Come down to a regular kneeling position. Many of us will be well advised to put a block between the heels and buttocks. Breathe through your nose if you can. Deep, expressive, honest, natural breaths. Perhaps there's a bit of rolling on the shins. It's very beneficial to roll. It melts extraneous myofascia and other extraneous fascia. It hydrates fascia. It disorientates physical habit patterns coming from the nerves to the body. Disorientates them so that their ability to constitute themselves and to deepen their groove or orientation or compulsion is diminished.
Okay, well done. Back to hands and knees. Now, if you've got a block, that's really super. If any kind of block's okay. These ones are made of bamboo, I think. We're going to have one hand on the block and one hand straight on the floor. So this is a version or versions of Viagra. Now, Viagra meaning tiger. It's one word for tiger. There are others in Sanskrit. Just take one block forwards, breathe through the nose. Tone the tummy in what's called eccentric contraction. So it draws in and pulls forwards. You might, while toning the tummy, might want to play with the block. It might lift up into a sort of wheelie, but you play with it, you know, enjoyment. I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure that you're the same as me with this, but enjoyment means, in a sense, losing yourself, like into a piece of music, into a kiss, into a beautiful sunset, into the smell of a flower, into the smell of cut grass, you know, losing yourself into the movements in the posture. To me, that's losing yourself. Now, if you're ready, you can also raise the opposite leg to the extended arm. And you keep breathing through your nose. So your gluteal muscles are switched on. Keep that tummy toned and stretched forwards in eccentric contraction. Now, this is oftentimes more than enough, plenty, but one or two might feel peaceful to raise the block up. Don't overdo it. In other words, how do you know if you're overdoing it? Breath. If you can breathe into it, if you can keep a sense of flow, if you can take physical movements that help you breathe freely, fine. It's all going well. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to have the brick down on the floor instead of raised up. This is great for your hamstring muscles, great for your back muscles. Okay, coming back down, putting the block in the other hand. When you're ready, and extend out. Breathe through your nose if you can. Deep, natural, honest, spontaneous. That tone in the tummy means eccentric contraction, which means the tone remains with stretch. It's a particular kind of muscle action. It's letting two ends of the muscle move away from each other, but the muscles between them don't just let go, they keep tone. Again, stretch the opposite leg to the arm that you've got stretched forwards. Don't hold the breath, let it flow, let it flow. Feel through the inner groin of the back leg, and I hope you feel relaxed and encouraged to play. Then raise up your brick when you're ready. Don't hold the breath. Keep extending the groin. Keep that tummy toned. Breathe through your nose if you can. So you don't have to raise the block, but if you do, you've got to be able to move in ways that help flow on every level, not least on the level of the breath. So good for the body. Really wonderful. Okay, well done. Brick down, leg down. Put the brick to one side. Lay on your tummy. I'm going to turn around for this, but you don't need to. Lay on your tummy when you're ready. Up on your elbows, forearms, and wrists. Great. Once you're up on your elbows and forearms and you're on your tummy, you might want to blanket down. I should have said that. I'm actually in a room that I don't practice that often in because it's carpeted, which works really well for poses like this, but not so well for other poses that I like to do, like handstands. But if you haven't got a carpeted floor for this, it's nice to put a blanket down, I think. Anyway, stretch your tummy if you're ready. Stretch your legs in two opposite directions. The tummy goes towards the chin, the legs go away from the head. And by doing that, you're stretching two ends of one muscle. What is that muscle? It's the psoas major. So keep stretching your tummy, keep stretching the thighs. Breathe through your nose. Don't hold the breath. And you can do that as many times. You know, for me, I can keep doing it, you know. I move to the left, I can stretch to the right, move to the right, I can stretch to the left. It's like the more I do it, the more I can pick up more waifs and strays in the body. bit like passing a hoover over part of the house. I just did hoover the house today. And then if you pass it again, you might pick up more, and then pass it again, you might pick up more. Okay, hopefully we've had a really good stretch in 2 directions now. Now we're going to bring our arms by our sides, palms facing in, arms off the ground, but don't turn your heels in. Don't turn the heels in. Breathe through your nose. Lift your chest. If you want, staying in touch with the pelvic floor, you can lift your legs. Doesn't have to be at all high, but don't turn your heels in. Do stay in touch with the pelvic floor. Breathe through your nose if you can. Don't turn the heels in. Do stay in touch with the pelvic floor. That way the back stays long. That way the energy stays strong. Okay, down you come, one hand on top of the other. Rest your head. Let's have some huffing and puffing, some really deep, natural, spontaneous breaths. So deep, natural, spontaneous breaths. Temples receding, eyes softening, brain relaxing. Natural, easy breathing. Okay, we're going to roll over. And in fact, coming up from the side, we're going to bring our legs up without haste in front of us. So when you're ready, bring your legs out in front of you. Now, an action that's important to learn is the connection between the chest and the head. They move as one in many of these poses. In other words, you don't bring the head back and the chest stays there, and you don't bring the chest up and the head stays there. They move together. So that's very much applicable here as we bring our hands back behind our bums, fingers face forwards, bend the legs, place the soles of the feet on the floor, breathe through your nose. Already you're probably getting a good stretch to the wrists. I know I am. Then we're going to lift the bum up, travel forwards. Could be that that's enough, but if you can, it's really good to lift up, and this is where the chest and head move as one, which I find you visualizing and feeling at the same time. I'm also moving forwards, backwards, left and right to help recruit or gather or stream or comb the various fibers into unity or integration or yoga or strength. Okay, well done. Nice and calm. Don't rush. Some of you naturally have come out already. We're going to come into a cross-legged position. Simple cross-legged is called Sukhasana. And in Sukhasana, with the legs across, there's a gap between the legs and the pelvis. Obviously, if that's not a comfortable pose for you and you can make adaptations that make it comfortable, go for those. Once you've got to a reasonably comfortable position, just let things settle and expand. So that's breath, a soft jaw, soft eyes, soft brain. Arm relaxed. And when everything starts to relax, hopefully you're starting to feel your bums relaxing, muscles that attach from the bum to the back of the pelvis are relaxing. Muscles that connect between the pubic bone and tailbone are relaxing, and so on. Then we can lift up from both inner groins and turn. So it's on an inhale, lift up from both inner groins. And on the exhale, turn to bring one hand on the outside of both legs, just as I'm doing here. Something to know about yoga is, according to many texts, particularly the Yoga Sutras, is it's empty of grasping. It's a parigraha. Now, doesn't mean we won't feel inclinations to grasp, to grip, to grab. But we uncouple from those inclinations. They might be there. Now, uncoupling means fully allowing. Coupling means considering them to be mine in some way and either fueling them or repressing them. Uncoupling means allowing. This is the goal of yoga. This is the teachings of the Buddha as well. Okay, lift and turn and keep turning. Obviously, we're going to go around the other way. Same thing. It's called Parivrita Sukhasana. So we've got that pari, very or completely, vrita, turning from the root vrit, to turn. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft, tongue soft. Nice and calm. Okay, well done. Return to center. Uncross the legs, lay on your back. If your head tips back, put something underneath the head for support. Once you're down and comfortable, give yourself a couple of deep breaths. Just let the lower back relax, let the neck relax, let the jaw relax, let the tongue relax. So it's this really lovely sense of expansion. When calm, when breath centered, raise up one leg, doesn't matter which one. And dorsally and plantar flex your foot. You can add circles if you want. Scrunching the toes and unscrunching them is a good way to create neural connections to the body. Basically anything that makes it feel good. It's just got to feel good. Heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor and plunge through the gap. Interlace around the far shin and have a bit of a rollabout. Don't hold the breath. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Look for sensations that are so rich that it just knocks your mind off its normal tracks. That's what we're looking for. So rich that it knocks your mind off its normal tracks. Really passive jaw, really passive eyes, really passive brain. I could just roll with that really for a pretty long time. I don't know about you. Hopefully you're feeling the same, that it's profoundly beneficial in the way that it creates this release that we've compared in this Vajrasati yoga as a closed fist becoming an open palm. Release when you're ready. Both feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in and out. Relax your neck, relax the jaw, relax the tongue, relax the brain, relax the eyes. Worth just staying with that for a few breaths, just feeling it undo. And you could probably stay with that undoing a while, but let's pop up with the other leg. And similarly, dorsiplantar flex, circle, half circle, scrunch, unscrunch the toes. Even if it feels a bit awkward, still a really good thing to do because of the way it's generating neural connections, which themselves negate other neural connections, which are expressions of habit and compulsion that are formed through making impressions into the nervous system that then makes the nervous system believe things that are not even happening. This is why we can say the nervous system is the same as the mind in the Yogacara philosophy. And the Yogacara philosophy says the only thing that's real, some other Buddhist philosophy says nothing is real. There's nothing that's real, there's nothing that's permanent, there's nothing that's stable, there's nothing that's divisible. But the Yogacara says, well, the mind is real. Heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other. Lift up, same thing as before. Interlace. I should have mentioned that if you can't reach the far thigh, far shin rather, you can hold the back thigh. And if you can't, if that's difficult, then use a belt around the back thigh. Let's roll around. See if we can find a moment that just leaves us out in the long grass. Undesirable if you're a golf player, highly desirable if you're a yogin to be out in the long grass. Absolutely passive jaw, absolutely soft eyes. Absolutely breath centered. Okay, much as it's good, dare I even say wonderful, to stay well released. Place both feet on the floor. Let's take 3, 4, 5, 6 deep breaths. Just enjoy those. The naturalness of release, the honesty of release. Feet quite close into the bum. Light tone in the tum draws in and up, in and up. It's called Jalandhara. It's called, sorry, Uddiyana Bandha, in and up. And then with that sense of very gentle, intelligent in and up, we lift the pelvis, we move left, right, up, down. Now the arms can be, as you can see, any position, like you can hold them up, like I've got mine here. You can hold them mat. You can raise the pelvis higher and turn your arms, upper arms out. Keeping integrity as our central theme, equating it with yoga and strength, we incorporate through movement the various muscles of the lower back. By moving left, right, up, down, shaking, tilting, swaying, bouncing, circling. Breath and calmness together. Lowering down, floating down like a feather floats down until your pelvis is down on the floor. Then take a deep breath. Take your hands off the yoga mat, palms up. Sometimes it's useful to extend the fingers along the back of the neck or to scoot the buttocks under. Take the shoulder blades away from each other. If your back starts to soften, extend your legs out so they're fully extended. This is, of course, Shavasana. Eyes closed, jaw soft. Super important pose because this is the pose of integration. Everything relaxed, jaw, brain, tongue, left arm, right arm. Left side of the chest, right side of the chest. lower tummy, pelvis, left buttocks, or left buttock muscles. There's only one buttock, isn't there? But left buttock muscles, right buttock muscles. Hamstring muscles on the back of the legs. Front thigh muscles. Back of the heels. Even the back of the heels are relaxed. Whole body as a whole body. Given. Surrendered. Whole body as a whole body. Given and surrendered. When you feel ready, and of course at home you can lay on as long as you like. When you feel ready, feel how energy spreads through your lower tummy, the pubis, the lower back. When you wiggle your toe, feel how that energy spreads through the whole pelvis, front and back, through the buttocks, through the legs, through the knees, calves, shins, and feet. This is energy or sensation coming from the sacral plexus and spreading out. Feel similarly when you move your fingers how energy spreads softly, naturally through the releasing sensations in your chest, your shoulders, shoulder blades, arms and fingers. And if you move both fingers and toes, then you get that spreading energy everywhere. And eventually it spreads everywhere, and it leads to us feeling ready to take little stretches, natural stretches. We might rub our eyes or run a hand through their hair. Very, very natural, any instinctive movements. And when ready, we'll bend the legs, unless you want to lay on longer, of course, which you're welcome to do. Place the feet on the floor and then roll to your left and lay comfortably there. Roll those knees up and your tummy will be all snuggly and soft as it should be. And then roll again when you're ready to your other side, no rush. Finally, softly coming up from your side, using your arms to assist your ascent. And bringing your hands to a prayer position towards these 21 taras. Not quite sure if you can see the top one, but anyway, there they are with green tara in the middle. And if you agree with the following sentence, you can say Om at the end. And if you don't agree, you don't have to say anything at all. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely, without even one exception, all beings. Om. Right into the heart of 21 taras from your heart, and then from there with rainbow light into the universe. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your time. As ever, marvelous to see you on this marvelous and stormy evening here in Brighton. Look forward to seeing you again super soon. Thank you all. Thank you. Bye. Thanks, guys. Love and peace. Love ya.